Well, obviously, we climbed to number 4 in both the AP and coaches poll today, which is great for the brand of San Diego State University and San Diego State basketball. But other than that, it doesn't do a whole lot for our team on the floor. Puts a bigger target on our back. The danger is making them think they're full of themselves, which I can't let happen. It won't happen. This is a mature team. And all I have to do is look at 3, 4, and 5 from last week's poll. Not only did they lose once, they lost twice. So the distance between winning and losing is paper thin, and we have to appreciate that, and we have to prepare to play a Wyoming team that could have won 2 of its last 3, but paper thin, they lost. So we have to be prepared. We'll prepare hard today, and we'll go out there and do the best to represent ourselves in this university in a proud manner.
When you rolled the ball out on the floor opening night, did you think this thing had the potential to be where it is right now?
I mean, you always think you're going to be good, Lee, on paper. You put it all down, you say this is what we're going to be good at, and this is what we think we'll struggle at, and then you throw it out there and you see what it is. And so we were hoping that the maturity would help us win more games early. It did. And but you don't know the grit of the team until you see them come from behind at BYU, come from behind against Iowa. Then it shows you a little more. And then to be on this win streak, it just shows you that they have a ability to stick to it, to not get full of themselves, to continue to try to get better every day. And so, yeah, it's worked out just like it was supposed to on paper, but a lot of times that's not the case.
We were just talking about the 2010-11 team, and you obviously coach both those teams. I asked the players if those two teams played each other, what would happen?
I bet neither one knew the starting lineup other than Kawhi Leonard from the 11 team. So
DJ.
Yeah, and DJ, yeah, because he's around. So, that's all great talk. It's great talking points. It's fun to compare. But we have to win a game tomorrow in order to kind of catch them in a 20-win streak. So that's kind of a fun little motivator, to do something to catch a team in Aztec history that's been so good. So other than that, the comparisons are for fans and coaches to kind of talk about and laugh about.
How meaningful is it for them to get to 21 and surpass this team? Because you've talked a lot about how this team doesn't want to be compared to the past. It wants to be its own identity.
Yeah, I think it's important to get to 20 first, so I'll worry about 21 if we can win tomorrow. So, and we'll have our challenges tomorrow. We're going to see some things tomorrow we haven't seen probably all year. I think they'll zone us some. We haven't seen a lot of zone. That'd be my guess. They'll try to play some of their matchup, and it'll be the same story. We can't give them a ton of threes. So every game has its own identity and challenges, and so the key for us is to prepare for all of that. And that's my job, is to make sure they're prepared. And then it's their job to have themselves ready to play mentally. As much as I try to make that happen, it's on each individual player that he has to have the same routine. He has to come out with the same attitude that he does every game. And so I try to encourage that, but at the end of the day, they're young kids, they're young men, and they have to find their own focus when they step on the floor.
How do you think they're dealing with just kind of the comparisons, chasing history, that team always being brought up, that sort of thing?
They never talk about it. I think the only time it's talked about is when they come up here. They're not in the locker room when I come in and saying, boy, we're one game away from catching that team, or they don't talk like that. They just come in and try to focus on the film we're watching, and that's our job as coaches, to keep them grounded. But at the same time, let them embrace and have fun with it, It's the fine line. We can't be sitting there and be a downer on everything that's happened because we're micromanaging and trying to keep them over-focused. They're a good group, and usually they know what has to be done, and that's what makes it easy to coach them. I don't have to sit there and micromanage every detail of everything. All I have to do is see if it slides off a little askew to try to get them back online.
Is it good to get scared like you did in the first half the other night? And maybe bring their focus back that somebody out there could hit 8 threes in a row and suddenly you're in a hole?
Yeah, we talk about that. All we can control is our attitude and our effort, and sometimes we can play a great game and the other team's throwing threes in. And that's the beauty of college basketball. We can play really good and be on the cusp of losing at any moment. And that's the fun of this game. It's frustrating for coaches sometimes, but I told them at halftime, I'm not frustrated at halftime. They made 7 threes, and I only thought maybe one of them was one we gave up where we weren't there. They just made some really good plays. They got good players. And so my job is to not overreact to it, to say it's college basketball. It can happen any given night. And it happened in the first half. The second half, we held them to 3 threes. And at the end of the game, each team made 10 threes. So that's their average. So if they'd have made 14, it might have been a game. And that's what I said. We can't let them have 12, 13, 14 threes. And that was before the game. It wasn't at halftime when they had 7. So, at some point you have to just say, we have a good game plan. We'll make a tweak or two, adjust a thing or two as it goes on. But we have to believe in ourselves, believe in our game plan, and just play hard as heck.
Back in October at the Mountain West Media Days, you and all the other coaches talked about how improved the Mountain West was this year. You certainly have held up your end of the bargain. But this might be the worst year ever from 2 to 11 in conference history. What, in your opinion, has happened?
Maybe it's just more parity. Obviously, if we all win more games in the non-conference, we're like the Big Ten. We're saying, wow, anybody's anybody. Let's get 10 teams and 11 teams, and that's what the Big Ten's talking. But, we didn't win enough non-conference games as an entire conference. And some of the younger teams are getting better. Like UNLV was really struggling early, and he brought them back after Christmas, and they're getting better. But they didn't win the non-conference games to say they've been good all year. But Utah State beats LSU in Florida. You look now, you say, wow, those are really good wins. New Mexico beats Wisconsin, and so we beat some teams. But as a whole, the conference has probably got great parity, but not everybody lived up to getting that non-conference resume that we needed them all to have going into the conference.
What was the 2010, 2011 team? How do they handle the run? How would you compare how that team went about the business and kind of handled making history compared to this team and what they've done so far?
Yeah, well, it was a pretty mature team too. A lot of experience on that team. DJ and Malcolm and Billy and Carwell, a 5th-year senior, Meddy, Tim Shelton. We had great depth and experience. That team was really deep, so and that doesn't even bring up Kawhi or Chase and, DJ. So that team had great depth too. It had was a really good defensive team, and so in that ways they're comparable, that they were both older, they were both defensive-minded, but different. I mean, that team had more length, had length about it. This team doesn't have that length. And I told them in the locker room, I said, to be real honest with you guys, I was concerned going into the year defensively because Malachi and KJ and our guards don't have great length. Adam, but they're really smart. And so they're always in the right spot, and they're ball hawks. They're on the ball hard, they guard it hard, but they don't have length about them. So I was concerned. That was if you talk about it on paper, that was something on paper leading into the year I was concerned about. We got guys that are smart, but is that length they're gonna shoot over us? We're gonna be there and they're gonna shoot over us. So those are things that you look at as coaches, and they've overcome that because they're always in the right spot. They help each other, and they're really good help defensive team. I always say, if you're really good defensively, you're in 2 places at one time. You look like you're in help, but when they pick it up to pass, you're already on the shooter. And this team really seems to move at a pace that's allowed it to be ranked in the top 10 nationally defensively.